Hi, I'm Dilly MacFarlane, and this is the Alumni Special. Today my guest is Shirley Baker, who is the Executive Director of the Kiwanis, Nova Scotia Music Festival. Hi Shirley, welcome to the Alumni Special.
Nice to be here.
So you're very busy getting ready for a very special event.
Right.
Tell me about the music festival. How long has it been happening here in Halifax?
The first festival was held in 1935, and it has gone on most years until this year.
And you've been involved in it, not for that whole period of time, but for a good many years, haven't you?
I've had this position for 15 years, and then before that it was the old county, Halifax County Music Festival.
That's right. I suppose your children were involved at that point, and a lot of, I seem to recall your initial involvement was as a volunteer,
right.
As one of the parents of the participants. Right. Is that not right?
That's right.
Do you still rely on the assistance of volunteers?
Oh, yes.
To the most part?
Oh, yes, all volunteers. I'm the only one with an honorarium. Everyone else is a volunteer. Over 200 volunteers, actually, during festival week itself.
My goodness. And these would be people professionals within the education system, I suppose.
Oh, some of
Teachers
them. And some are just parents. And
right. Oh, that's
friends.
Good. I was always very excited by the music festival, looking at it from a participant's point of view. I think that probably without exception, our school was always involved in some way, whether it was through a big group from the class or the school choir or the glee clubs or whatever. Right. But it seemed to me that within my school experience here in Halifax, both in the county and in the city, that it was a wonderful chance for young children. At some point in time, every kid in this area, I think, had a chance to perform in that festival.
Oh, I'm sure, yes. There aren't many children in Nova Scotia, in Halifax, who have not been through one of the classes.
Yeah. Now, it's taken on quite a different format from when I was a little girl, which was not exactly yesterday, but it's grown to be quite a big undertaking. Now, what sort of classes are being adjudicated in the festival this year? Aside, well, there's the vocal classes and so on.
And the choirs, bands, classical guitar, piano, of course.
Yes.
A lot of strings, recorder, organ.
Well, that's really quite an extensive field, isn't it? Tell me about the vocal classes. What sorts of classes are within that vocal section?
Well, there'd be everything from folk song and opera, oratorio, to light opera and musical theater. There's a wide range. Really?
So what age range would the participants be in that group?
Well, probably from 8 to 30, basically.
Really? So you see just about every cross-cut as far as maturity goes. And would all of these people necessarily have been professionally trained?
Oh, no.
No?
No.
Some are just...
No, the university students, by and large, are university trained, but a lot of the school-age children are not. The teachers, the music teacher at school decide they've got a nice little voice and train them and bring them in.
I see. Now tell me about the bands, Shirley. How many bands are and what kind of bands are going to be entering the festival this year?
Well, the normal school bands, jazz band, concert band, there are about 40 this year, and they come from all over the Maritimes. And one new thing this year we've introduced, we have a different adjudicator for the jazz bands themselves. So other years, one person has done them all, but that's getting to be a specialized field.
I can see that. Now, who arranges for instance, for all of the when these bands, I'm trying to imagine 40 bands coming for a competition over such a short time period, where do these children stay when they come from out of the city?
Sometimes they stay in a motel and they make a real time of it. They not only play, but they'll go for a skating session or a swimming session or something like that and have a real fun time. So it's not just work.
No.
But of course the local ones just proceed to St. Mary's Theatre Auditorium. We're using that for the second year. It worked out very well last year. And we have a very good organizer down there, B. Huxtable, who has them all lined up and in
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
Well, that must be a great undertaking. I'm trying to think of all of the possibilities of things that could go wrong, especially with a band situation where you have so many children, so many instruments, and
Right.
so many different going from place A to point B. But there must be a lot of social interaction among the children participants, especially in the big groups, the big choral groups and the bands. Do you see that?
Oh, yes. Some of them are back year after year, and they get to know some of the students in the other bands because they all stay to hear everybody.
Oh, that's good.
So that's one of the nice things about it.
Is there a good spirit of competition among the competitors?
Yes, I think there is, and I hope it doesn't get too competitive. That's one of the dangers.
Mm-hmm. So I suppose the adjudicator has to be chosen with that in mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Who's adjudicating the vocal presentations this year?
Alvin Reimer from the University of Western Ontario.
And this is his area of specialty.
Right.
And the bands, who's doing that?
Well, the jazz bands are a local fellow, Don Palmer.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And then Brian Strachan from University of Western Ontario is doing the other bands.
And what about the other instruments? Who is adjudicating the classical guitar, for instance?
All right. A lady from the Maritime Conservatory of Music, Barbara Glencross Shortlift. And then there are two piano adjudicators, James Lawless from the Royal Conservatory of Music in Toronto, and Sylvia Novak from the Western Ontario Conservatory. And a woodwind adjudicator is coming from Queen's University this year, Clifford Crawley. Gerald Wheeler is doing organ and choirs, and he's from Montreal. And let me see, who else have I left out?
Oh, that's quite a list. Tell me, Shirley, do they do this? Is this festival unique to our part of the country? Are these festivals happening concurrently across the country? And is Kiwanis responsible for any other festivals
Yes,
like this?
Kiwanis are responsible for about 3/4 of the music festivals in Canada, actually. And a few other service clubs are involved, such as Rotary, but definitely Kiwanis are thought of when you think of music festival. And in the Maritimes, I don't think St. John is Kiwanis sponsored. No, it isn't. Sydney is.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney, Cape Breton.
So do we have entries coming from Cape Breton for our festival?
Yes, and PEI in New Brunswick, and we even have one University of Toronto student.
Oh, that's marvelous. Well, you must be very proud of the progress that this festival's made as far as national exposure is concerned.
Yes.
What is available for the participants, aside from knowing that they've done a good job and getting a good mark from the adjudicator?
Well, there are $6,000 worth of prizes and scholarships.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Everything from a $10 prize right up to, let me see, Dr. Piano gives us a concert piano bench, which is worth about $600, and that's for the top piano student each year.
Really?
And then there are other scholarships that have to be applied for. And this year we have two brand new scholarships. We have one given by John and Ann Rapson from the Symphony, and it's to be alternating between a wind player one year and a string player another. And that's to go to a student taking private music lessons. And it's payable to the music teacher or music camp or something like that. And then we have another new one, Raymond Burns, organ scholarship. He was very interested in all his life, worked in the area of organs, and he passed away during the Christmas season. So his friends and associates have set up an organ scholarship in his memory. So they're still accepting donations to that, but the first one prize will be awarded at this festival.
Well, that's marvelous. I remember as a little girl seeing the presentation of beautiful trophies. Do you still present trophies?
Oh, yes. We have 3 trophies, 3 bowls, rose bowls, and 2 trays, and a baton. And the Irene McQuillan Murphy Rose Bowl goes to the outstanding school choir. And of course, she's a Mount alumni, and when she's in town, she always comes and graciously presents her Rose Bowl to the students, because she was head of the music department of the Halifax City Schools for many, many years, and is still very fondly thought of at festival time.
Yes, I'm sure. And the other Rose Bowls are for other choral
Yes,
groups?
well, there's a T.C. Johnson and Son Rose Bowl, and that's to the choir that attains the highest mark in the adult choral classes. And then we have the Halifax Choral Society Rose Bowl, which is a competition in itself on the Friday evening when the 6 best vocalists chosen by the adjudicators compete for this senior prize,
Oh,
and
that
then
must
we
be
have a cash award with that too.
That must be very exciting.
Yes, it is.
I remember when I was little again, there was an evening called the Stars of the Festival.
Yes.
Do you still do that at the end of the
Yes,
festival?
right. Saturday night, 7:30 in the Rebecca Cohn Memorial Auditorium. The best of every section, junior and senior, like one string player, one piano, voice, band,
Oh,
you know,
my.
so on.
Oh, that sounds lovely. It really does. If this isn't too difficult a question for you to answer, I'm curious to know how you manage as far as financial support is concerned. I'm looking at the logistics involved, and I'm even thinking of getting the pianos tuned and moved, and there must be a lot of expenses involved in putting this on.
There are. The budget is $60,000. That's including the scholarships. And money's raised, of course, from the entry fees and patrons and sponsors. The City of Halifax gives us a grant, and the province, and the Kiwanis, of course, with their grant. But it is getting hard to make ends meet. The halls in particular, the expenses are really rising.
Yes, I understand you're performing in 4 different locations this year?
9.
9 different locations. Where, Shirley? There's going to be the Cohen, I know that.
Well, the Cohen is in the Dalhousie Arts Center, but I use 5 other halls in that building.
Oh, I see.
Plus the St. Mary's Art Gallery and St. Mary's Theater Auditorium. And for the first time this year, we're using First Baptist Church. And we're putting the choirs, the church choirs there, and also the oratorio and sacred music there.
Oh, that's a beautiful auditorium.
It is, and they have a lovely piano, a grand piano, and actually Dr. Piano is graciously moving it and tuning us into the church for us.
Well, they've been a wonderful help to you, haven't
yes,
they?
they have.
Yeah. Shirley, this keeps you busy, I'm sure. Months and months of the year you must spend in getting the program organized and all of the entry information out to the participants and publicity and so on. How many months do you work on this?
As soon as this one is finished, the next one is started. Actually, even before this, because the cone has to be booked 2 years in advance, so that has to be done ahead of time. But yeah, the minute it's over, the letters go out to the teachers to choose music for the syllabus, which has to be published in May, you see.
Oh,
so
yes.
it's ongoing,
Right.
although sometimes they're certainly busier than other times.
Well, Shirley, I really thank you very much for taking time out today to come and talk to us about the Music Festival. And for the benefit of our viewers, will you please remind us again when the festival is taking place?
February 23rd to 28th.
And it's a number of different locations. Is there a number where people can call for information on different activities within the Music Festival?
Well, up until Festival Week, it's 443-2471. And Festival Week itself, there's a separate number, an office is set up during that week in the Cone, and that will be published at the beginning of the program.
Good. Are there seasons passes available this year again? How much are they, Shirley?
$10.
I see. And for individual events, is there a charge at the door?
Yes, but it varies according to the event. And students and children are free all week except for the Rose Bowl and the final concert. We encourage students and both music students and school children. They can come in absolutely free.
Oh, that's a marvelous chance for them. So thank you very much, Shirley, for joining us today, and to remind our viewers again about the Nova Scotia Kiwanis Music Festival. And I hope that you'll join me again next week here on the Alumni Special.